Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
The Bahamas Contractors Association president expressing concerns regarding the Oban Energies deal.
Noted attorney Wayne MUNROE slams cabinet over the Oban Energies deal.
Union President KIMSLEY Ferguson says there are a number of concerns surrounding the new location for the General Post Office.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm KRISTINA DRAGOVICH. Topping news tonight, as environmentalists continue to sound off on the Oban deal fiasco, another group is speaking out against government's controversial deal with Oban Energies for a multi-billion-dollar oil refinery project on East Grand Bahama. The president of the Bahamian Contractors Association says they have also been kept in the dark on the project. WALKINE reports.
The Contractors Association president says he, as well as the other contractors a part of the association, have a lot of concerns regarding this Oban Energies deal. He said the one that tops the list, though, is the lack of information that seems to be coming from the government as well as Oban Energies officials.
So if there are opportunities attached to this arrangement, help us to understand how we could participate.
More information. That's all Contractors Association President Leonard Sands said contractors want as concerns mount over the future of the Oban project for East Grand Bahama. The project has seen its share of controversy in recent weeks, and Sands says government and Oban officials aren't making the situation any better.
I would have expected for our membership to be excited about the possibilities of engaging in this kind of work. Someone would come somewhere and have plans and documents to say, this is what we propose to do. However, from what I've been gleaning from the public and also from the lack of information, I would say, coming from the government, the press has been doing digging and digging and digging, and we're getting snippets of some information. But it is not enough for contractors and persons in the built environment to sink their teeth into what exactly is proposed.
Oban President Satpal Duna said the company will lease 690 acres of crown land from the government for the project, in addition to purchasing private land near the site. Oban has also promised to create hundreds of jobs on the island of Grand Bahama, whose economy has been hurting since 2004. But the real estate component of this project, according to Sands, is one people should also keep their eye on.
I mean, are we talking about 100 homes, 500 homes, 1,000 homes? That's exciting if it pans out, if it's an opportunity. But again, there's no details to be fleshed out. So where we're really at is that we're optimistic that the government is doing the right thing. We're optimistic that the investor is real and this can happen, but with a caution.
But what may come as a surprise to some, Sands says Oban Energies has already reached out to contractors.
Outside of what has been stated in the press, that we know a few who are Bahamian Contractors Association membership, and we're happy for them if this becomes real.
So they have reached out to Bahamian.
They have been contacted and engaged already, that we understand. But again, this project is extremely large. That one contractor or two contractors can't do it. Let's see how many more contractors could join this complement and make this project a real Bahamian beautiful construction related story in the Bahamas. And I think that's the real possibilities here.
The Contractors Association president says in the coming weeks he hopes more information is made available to the public. Reporting for our news, I'm WALKINE.
Meanwhile, noted attorney Wayne MUNROE QC says the government cannot continue with the $5.5 billion deal in its current state, asserting it will not add anything tangible to the Bahamian economy. Jasmine Brown has that.
MUNROE says while the Prime Minister should shoulder much of the blame, Dr. MINNIS isn't the only public figure that the public should be demanding answers from.
And the public is being too narrowed. It's not just the Prime Minister. The Investment Authority is the Cabinet. So these Cabinet Ministers who have been very quiet about it are also tarred with the same Oban brush. So it's not just the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister. All of them sat around the table and agreed to this deal.
Despite MUNROE's criticism of the MINNIS cabinet, ministers are duty-bound not to criticize any decision agreed upon in cabinet. However, he insisted the government cannot continue with the current Oban Energies deal. MUNROE argued it will not add anything tangible to the country's economy, as he called the MINNIS administration obsessed with the deal.
So you get 80% perhaps of 250 permanent jobs. You get no taxes. But they seem to have this smoke and mirrors thing where if these people do $7 billion worth of sales from the Bahamas, that's $7 billion on our GDP. So we're like the African countries where the people mine all their resources, the country gets nothing, but your GDP looks really good because you're making all of this money.
The government signed a heads of agreement with Oban Energies on February 19th. The agreement was also signed without an environmental impact assessment, something many critics hit out at. The Oban deal came under fire after it was revealed that Oban's non-executive chairman Peter Krieger in 2015 had been accused of violating the federal securities laws in the United States. The claim has since been settled. Krieger signed the heads of agreement on behalf of Oban. However, it was later discovered that he did not sign his name on the document. MUNROE added that since announcing the project in February, the MINNIS administration has embarked on a series of blunders filled with artificial reasoning and desperate attempts to win the public over. During his contribution to the mid-year budget debate in the House of Assembly, MINNIS admitted that his government made a series of missteps regarding its deal with Oban Energies.
If it's something that you could correct, you're supposed to go and correct it. So what are these missteps? Dealing with somebody who signed somebody else's name, well, that may be a sign that these boys aren't quite kosher, aren't quite decent people. So then you should only want to deal with decent people.
The Prime Minister has said that the government will do a more comprehensive review of the Oban project. Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Opposition leader Philip Davis says while he does not intend to get into the internal business of the government, the termination of Centerville Member of Parliament Reese Chipman as chairman of the Antiquities, Monuments and Museums Corporation and his claims about the AMMC operating outside the law warrant a full and thorough explanation by Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis in the interest of transparency. Davis says it is hypocritical of the Minnis administration, which campaigned on platforms of transparency, integrity, and good governance, to now cherry-pick when it suits the government to be transparent. He says having read Chipman's letter to the Prime Minister and listened to Minnis's interview with the media on Monday, there has been a degree of innuendos launched that, on the surface, malign the characters of certain individuals, including Chipman. The PLP leader says all of this should be laid out before the Bahamian people. The Cabinet Office sent out a statement regarding Chipman's firing on Saturday. When pressed on the matter on Monday, Minnis said he does not intend to publicly reveal the details surrounding Chipman's dismissal. Meanwhile, former Free National Movement Chairman Darren Cash said Prime Minister Minnis owes the Bahamian people a full-throated and unequivocal explanation detailing why he fired Chipman. Charging that this adds to the government's number of self-inflicted wounds, Cash says questions surrounding whether Minnis should remain on as Prime Minister are not unfounded. Cash argued that you can put all the lipstick on the world on this pig, but in the end it would not be enough to change the reality that the Minnis government's public relations and press management efforts can be summed up as being one ugly monster. In other news, the Bahamas Public Service Union raising concerns over government's decision to acquire the old Phil's Food Services building on Gladstone Road and relocate the General Post Office to that facility. Jillian Gray reports.
The decision to relocate the General Post Office was in response to employees' concerns about health hazardous working conditions. But Union President KIMSLEY Ferguson says the new proposed site poses a number of other concerns.
I also had a concern as to how the public was going to be impacted, because while that was the General Post Office on East Street, if this is going to be the General Post Office, it really is going to disenfranchise some persons. Actually, a lot of employees that actually catch buses were very concerned that they were in a position to walk to work, now they're going to have to give consideration to how they're going to commute.
Press Secretary Anthony NEWBOLD revealed on Tuesday that the new location would be Phil's Food Store on Gladstone Road. When asked about the commute, he gave this response.
Everyone will have to make a way to get to the post office is what it will. You take it to where it's you know, we got to do something for those people in the post office. And right now, that appears to be the best option.
Ferguson, who has led a number of protests against working conditions at the General Post Office, says the government needs to ensure that the issues currently plaguing the government buildings do not resurface.
The engineers need to get involved to the degree where whatever is causing mold in the various government buildings, we need to seek to address that moving forward so that we don't have the same problem wherever it is the post office is going to be.
While there's no time frame as to when employees will move to the new proposed site, Mr. Ferguson said he wants to ensure they're not moving from one hazardous situation to another.
When I would have spoken with the minister regarding the dump and the fires that would take place there, he mentioned that the government is making feverish efforts to deal with the remediation at that site where the fire situation will really not be a major concern. So that's yet to be seen.
Concern is now for the other post office sites which are facing a myriad of challenges, including the Cable Beach location, which has severe roof damage.
I would have said to the permanent secretary, if it rains again, we need to shut it down. We're not going to ask our members to go in and be janitress and mop up water, and after they mop up water, then they decide to open the doors to the public. That's a concern for us. All of the locations for the post offices have their various challenges, and we are hopeful that these would be addressed speedily so that persons can work in an environment conducive to productivity.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
Still to come on our news, why the Bahamas Bar Association says a new Chief Justice should be named as soon as possible. Plus, the Natural Empress makes the move to Guardian Talk Radio. The details and more coming up.